Calmness is more dangerous than violence, more disruptive than money, more powerful than fear. And that's exactly why the world is built to keep you panicking. Think about it. Every headline screams at you. Every notification pulls at you. Every bill waiting on the counter. Every boss, every argument, every rejection, they all push you into chaos. Why? Because a calm mind can't be controlled, and the system we live in can't afford that. Here's the truth they'll never say out loud. The calmest person in the room always wins. Not the loudest, not the richest, not even the smartest, the calmest. But they don't want you calm. They want you addicted to stress, scrolling like a lab rat, desperate for the next hit of dopamine. Because if you ever discovered what silence inside really feels like, you'd become untouchable. So let me ask you, when was the last time you were truly still? Not distracted, not scrolling, not numbing yourself. I mean, silent. If you can't even remember, then you're not free. And what comes next is going to show you why calmness isn't just peace. It's rebellion. It's a weapon. And once you master it, the storm outside won't stand a chance. Before we dive in, drop this in the chat. Calmness is rebellion. Let's see who's really locked in. Calmness is rebellion. And the first battlefield in this war is your attention. Think about how your day starts. Before you even stretch, before you even remember your dream, your phone is glowing. One tap and you're already under attack. Headlines scream, feeds overflow, bills whisper from the counter, arguments replay in your head. It feels random, but it isn't. This is a war machine. Every ping is bait, every headline is a hook in your nervous system. And the longer you live in that chaos, the further you drift from the truth. Because here's what nobody tells you: peace and calm. There's a story, one they've watered down into Sunday school, but it's far deeper than that. Jesus asleep on a boat. A storm rages. The disciples panic, terrified they'll drown. They shake him awake. And Christ, the embodiment of infinite intelligence, tells the storm, "Be calm." And the chaos outside vanished. This wasn't just a miracle. It was a code. Christ wasn't a personality. He was a vessel for the infinite. The word itself traces back to Calmest, meaning the anointed one, a reference not to a man, but to a state of consciousness. In Hindu tradition, Krishna represents the same archetype, an avatar of godly awareness flowing through flesh. The storm was never outside them, it was inside them. And the moment stillness came within, stillness ruled without. That's the power you have right now. But here's the trap. When you're misaligned from that infinite intelligence, when you're out of sync with your own center, you fall into what people call hell. And no, not the cartoon version with flames. If God is omnipresent, then separation is impossible. Hell is simply misalignment. It's the moment you forget your source. It's when your waters inside are violent, chaotic, restless. And when you try to manifest from that place, every step feels like pushing uphill with weights on your back. That's why life feels rigged. That's why every dream you chase slips through your fingers. Scripture even coded it for us. Acts 10:34 says, God is no respecter of persons. Matthew 5:45 says, the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Because God, this infinite intelligence, isn't a personality picking favorites. It's energy, impersonal, like electricity. And electricity doesn't care who you are. It just responds to how you use it. Plug into it correctly and it lights up a city. Misuse it and it burns your house down. That's God in the metaphysical sense. Not a judge in the sky, but an infinite current flowing through everything. And the prerequisite to tapping into it is written plainly in Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness is the doorway, because when you're still, when your internal waters calm, you remember. And in that remembrance, you transcend. Limits dissolve. The uphill battle disappears. But when your waters aren't calm, when they're choppy, erratic, violent, your entire path to your desired reality becomes rocky. Like rowing a boat through waves that won't stop crashing. Up and down, exhausted, barely moving. And maybe that's why the old nursery rhyme, row, row, row your boat, carries more truth than people realize. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. That's esotericism hiding in plain sight. When you row gently, when your internal waters are calm, life flows like a dream. But row against the current. Fight the waters. Let panic steer the boat. And the dream turns into a nightmare. So the war isn't just over your attention, it's over your alignment. Because once you remember that stillness is God, you can't be controlled anymore. And that's the last thing this world wants. Here's the cruelest trick of all. Most people think they're reacting to the world, but the truth? The world is reacting to them. And that one misunderstanding, that one lie, keeps almost everyone enslaved. Think about it. How many times have you let what you see dictate how you feel? You check your bank balance, it's low. Instant anxiety. You send a text, no reply. Instant doubt. You go for a job, you don't hear back. Instant worthlessness. In those moments, you weren't steering reality. You were letting reality steer you. And that's the mistake. Because when you see beyond the illusion, you realize nothing in reality can truly harm you. And no, don't get it twisted. If you step onto a battlefield, yeah, you're gonna catch some heat. I'm not talking about some blind denial of real world danger. I'm talking about the deeper truth that every condition, every circumstance, every person you encounter is nothing more than an expression of your own state of consciousness. The pain they cause you, the chaos they stir up, is always tied to the power you gave them. Because the storm isn't a storm. The storm is you. And that's why Christ's words matter so much. Be still. When the storm in consciousness becomes calm, the storm in reality disappears. Beyond the illusion, there is no separation. The universe around you is you. And that's the hardest pill to swallow, because it means every nightmare and every blessing that ever touched your life came from within first. That's why most people stay stuck. It's easier to blame the storm than admit you are the storm. And here's the kicker. The calmest one always wins. Think about it. On a basketball court, Derrick Rose in his prime, quiet, steady, slicing through chaos without breaking expression. Tim Duncan, the big fundamental, he barely celebrated, barely talked trash, but dominated with surgical calm. President Barack Obama, cool, calm, collected, even when the world was burning. And Eckhart Tolle, so calm, he might make you laugh. Almost too calm, like he's half asleep at the wheel of existence. But that's his power. Different arenas, same principle. The calmest person in the room bends reality around them. And that's exactly why the system is built to keep you panicking. Because panic is slavery. Calmness is power. But here's the trap. The moment you let external storms dictate your inner state, you hand over your power. You become predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. That's why this world is engineered with endless distractions, endless noise, endless panic. Because if you ever remember the truth, that reality reacts to you, not the other way around, you'd become untouchable. And yet, knowing this doesn't free you, because even when you see the illusion, you're still trapped in another prison, your past, the unresolved storms replaying in your subconscious, creating the very chaos you think you're reacting to. And until you face those ghosts, until you calm the waters inside, you'll keep rowing upstream in waters that were never meant to drown you. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Your past never left you. It's still here, right now. Every heartbreak, every failure, every betrayal that made your stomach turn, they didn't go away, they just sank deeper into your subconscious. And that's the real prison. See, your subconscious doesn't know time. It doesn't care if something happened 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. If the memory carried enough emotional weight, anger, shame, panic, heartbreak, it stamped itself into your nervous system. And to your subconscious, it's still happening now. That's why people keep repeating the same cycles, the same toxic relationships, the same money struggles, the same feelings of worthlessness. It's not bad luck, it's programming. You're not reacting to the present, you're reacting to echoes of the past, ghosts that never stop playing their song in the background of your life. Think of it like this. A memory with strong emotion is like a track on repeat. It doesn't play loud, it hums in the background, influencing your every move. A heartbreak at 17 echoes in every failed relationship at 30. A teacher's insult at 12 whispers in your ear every time you doubt yourself as an adult. The storm you think is outside is just your subconscious playing back the storms you never stilled. And here's where the deception runs deeper. What most people call the devil is not some red creature with horns. From a metaphysical standpoint, the devil is simply the third dimensional realm itself. It's the fall of consciousness into matter, into the physical, and then making the mistake of believing that the physical is ultimate reality. That's the trap. When Christ was in the desert, the devil offered him everything you can see. That's the devil's limited perspective. What you see is what's real. And every time you let your eyesight dictate your inner state, you're falling into the same game. Because here's the truth. When you make something real, what you're actually doing is assigning meaning. And meaning births emotion. And emotion is the largest shareholder of your frequency. Emotion shapes your state of consciousness. It defines your self-concept. It directs your subconscious mind. So when you feel unseen, uncherished, unappreciated, that emotion quietly becomes your frequency. And your frequency attracts conditions that reflect exactly that. Not because the universe hates you, but because you allowed what you saw to determine how you be. That's how the cycle keeps looping. Not because you're cursed, but because you fell for the devil's trick. Believing the storm outside is more real than the storm within. And here's the haunting part. The devil isn't hiding in some cave. The devil is in your reaction. Every time you let the third dimension convince you it's more real than your own consciousness, you bow to it. That's the real fall of man. Not eating fruit, not angering a deity, but descending into matter so far that you forget. You're the one shaping it. This is why Christ's command, "Be still," isn't just religious poetry. It's the formula. When the storm inside becomes still, the storm outside loses its power. Because the truth is, the storm isn't separate from you. The storm is you. The universe around you is nothing but a mirror of your state of consciousness. Beyond the illusion, there is no separation. And once you really see that, you realize nothing in reality can truly harm you, because it's all just feedback, all just reflection, all just you. So the question becomes, what unresolved storm is still steering your life? Because until you calm those waters, until you take your power back from the devil's trick of appearances, you'll keep living the same nightmare again and again. So here's the question. If the storm is you, if the subconscious is the prison, how do you break free? Most people don't. They avoid. They distract themselves. They numb out. But avoidance doesn't save you. It feeds the storm. It's like refusing to open a letter from the bank. You feel safe for a day, but the debt keeps growing. Avoidance is weakness. And weakness is exactly how the cycle repeats. The only way out is through. And that's where the process begins. I call it the 3 T's. Transcend, transmute, transformation. Step 1, transcend. Most people run from the things that scare them. The bill they don't want to open, the test result they don't want to see, the text they don't want to read. Our instinct is to avoid. But in this game, avoidance is admission of defeat. To transcend means to face it directly. Stare into it until the fear burns off. Not in your imagination, not later. Now, if it's the debt letter, pick it up. If it's the number in your bank account, open the app. If it's a toxic person, bring their image into your mind. Let all the fear, panic, and anger rise up. Don't resist it. Because here's the secret your mind doesn't want you to know. If you sit with it long enough, it loses power. Emotion is energy, and energy burns out. Transcendence means staying with the fear until it dissolves into neutrality, until the storm calms on its own. Now, step 2, transmute. Neutral isn't the end. Neutral is the doorway. Most people try to jump straight from negative to positive, from broke to wealthy, from lonely to loved, from fear to confidence. But that jump is too far. The mind won't buy it. The path is negative to neutral to positive. Once you've sat with the storm long enough to reach neutrality, now you transmute. You flip the current. You look for the hidden seed of good that exists in everything. Yes, everything. Even the boss that disrespects you. Even the heartbreak that gutted you. Even the failure that made you doubt yourself. Every event carries polarity. And when you transmute, you mine the hidden pole, the lesson, the strength, the gift. It's not about pretending the storm never happened. It's about rewriting what it means. Step 3, transform. Once you've found the hidden seed, you focus on it until it grows. This is the alchemy. You take the chaos and you transform it into clarity. You take the fear and you transform it into wisdom. You take the betrayal and you transform it into power. And when you transform, your frequency changes. Because remember, emotion is the largest shareholder of your frequency. It determines the state you live in, the energy you emit, the reality you attract. So if your emotion is panic, you attract more panic. If your emotion is calm, you attract calm. If your emotion is gratitude, you attract doors that open without effort. Transform the emotion and you transform the frequency. Transform the frequency and you transform reality itself. This is why scripture said, a man can receive nothing unless it is first given to him from heaven. But heaven isn't a place in the clouds. Heaven is stillness. Heaven is calm. Heaven is when the waters inside finally stop thrashing. When your brain slips into alpha or theta, those meditative, deeply relaxed states, the door to your subconscious opens. And in those states, manifestation isn't uphill struggle. It flows. But here's the irony. Most people never reach it. Why? Survival mode. If you're stuck in the projects, the ends, or a war-torn street where your nervous system is always hunting for threats, your brain is locked in survival. The basal ganglia is scanning, 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 and concentration is the first step of vibration. Vibration shapes frequency. Frequency shapes reality. So, when your mind is chained to constant threats, your vibration is chained too. You're rowing against the stream, not down it. But when you relax, when you enter heaven, that inner stillness, you finally move with the stream, and suddenly, all this manifestation stuff becomes easier. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Heaven is that gentleness, that flow, that calm. Here's the paradox most people will never accept. The chaos you're running from is the very doorway to your freedom. Sounds insane, right? But think about it. Every time you've gone through hell, every heartbreak, every loss, every season where you thought you were finished, didn't you come out stronger? Didn't you come out sharper? Didn't you come out with a level of awareness you didn't have before? Look back at your own life. The worst seasons were always the springboard for the greatest elevation. So here's the twist. What if the secret wasn't to hate the storm, but to be grateful for it? Sounds backwards, gratitude for negativity, but let me break it down. Normally, gratitude is reserved for blessings, a raise, a new house, a healthy relationship. But the real power comes when you apply gratitude to the things that look like curses. The betrayal, the rejection, the failure, the heartbreak. Because what gratitude really does is transmute. It rewires meaning. And remember, when you change meaning, you change emotion. And when you change emotion, you change frequency. Emotion is the largest shareholder of your frequency. So when you can stand in the middle of chaos and still say thank you, you instantly shift the entire current. Think about it like this. Right now, you might be going through something heavy. Money's low. Your job feels unstable. The relationship is cracking. Most people drown in that. But if you could fast forward 5 years and look back, what would you say? You'd probably say, damn, I needed that. That broke me, but it built me. That storm shaped me into who I am. That's what I mean by negative gratitude. It's seeing the present storm through the eyes of your future self. It's transcending time, jumping ahead and giving thanks now for what you'll only understand later. You get rejected from a job. In the moment, you're crushed. But later, you land a position that changes your whole trajectory. Gratitude turns rejection into protection. Your partner betrays you. The pain cuts deep. But years later, you're with someone who actually honors you. Gratitude turns heartbreak into preparation. You lose everything: money, stability, comfort. It feels like the end. But that very loss forces you to awaken a side of yourself that never would have come out otherwise. Gratitude turns collapse into rebirth. Here's why negative gratitude is not just psychological, it's metaphysical. Gratitude is a frequency. It's one of the highest vibrations you can emit. And when you emit gratitude, even for things that look like hell, you're telling the universe, I trust you. I know this is not the end. I know this is leading me somewhere. That trust collapses resistance. And when resistance collapses, energy flows. It's like electricity. When the circuit is blocked, nothing moves, but gratitude opens the circuit. Even when life looks brutal, gratitude turns the current back on. Remember the devil's game? The fall of consciousness into believing the physical world is ultimate truth. Negative gratitude flips that script. It says, I don't care what I see. I don't care what it looks like. I choose to believe this storm is for me, not against me. And that decision pulls you out of the third dimensional trap. It puts you back in alignment with God, the infinite intelligence. Because to the devil, the storm is real. But to the awakened, the storm is a mirror. And gratitude is how you calm the waters within, so the storm without dissolves. Let me make it raw and practical. You lose a job, most people panic. Fear takes over. Survival mode kicks in. Frequency drops. But if you can say, thank you, this loss is a doorway. Something bigger is on the way. You shift your frequency instantly. And when your frequency shifts, opportunities appear that were invisible before. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Your attention expands, your creativity rises, and reality responds. Anybody can be grateful when life is smooth, but the real flex, the real mastery, being grateful in chaos. That's when you know you're free, because nothing owns you anymore. Not the job, not the relationship, not the bank account. You can lose it all and still sit calm in the storm. And that calmness, that gratitude in hell, that's heaven on earth. So here's the challenge. What storm are you in right now? And can you flip it? Can you thank it, even as it tears through you, knowing it's shaping a future you can't see yet? That's negative gratitude. That's alchemy. That's how you turn hell into heaven, pain into power, storms into stillness. So here's the final layer. Once you master calm, once you stop being tossed around by storms outside, once you've embraced gratitude even for the chaos, something shifts. You stop surviving reality and you start bending it. Because here's the secret no one dares to tell you. Reality isn't solid. It's liquid. It bends to the container you give it. Your consciousness is the mold. Your frequency is the signal. Your stillness is the amplifier. The mistake most people make is believing life happens to them. The truth? Life is only reacting to you. That's why stillness is the ultimate weapon. When your inner waters are calm, you're no longer reacting. You're creating. Every condition, every circumstance, every person who crosses your path, they're all just mirrors reflecting your state of being. The storm outside is just a delayed printout of the storm within, which means the moment you master the inside, you master the outside. This is why Christ could sleep through a storm, why Buddha could sit unshaken under a tree, why the mystics of every tradition reach the same conclusion. Heaven is not a place, it's a state, a calmness so complete that the universe itself bows to it. Be still and know that I am God. That wasn't advice. That was the blueprint. Because when you are still, you remember. And when you remember, you command. Think about it. The calm ones always rule the room. Derrick Rose, quiet killer, no theatrics, just focus. Tim Duncan, no trash talk, just domination. Obama, cool, collected, even when the world burned. Eckhart Tolle, so calm it almost annoys you. But that's the point. Their calm wasn't weakness, it was gravitational. Reality bent around them. And that's the final lesson. When you are calm, when you are still. You don't enter the storm enters you, and you decide what happens next. So here's where I leave you. Every storm you've ever faced was you. Every hell you've lived through was misalignment. Every prison you thought was outside was always inside. And the entire game of life has been this simple. Be still, row gently, calm the waters, align with the current. Because when you do, reality has no choice but to obey. And here's the haunting truth. If you refuse, if you keep reacting, keep panicking, keep letting storms dictate your state, you'll spend your life rowing against waters that were never meant to drown you. You'll live in hell, even while heaven was inside you all along.